And the greatest news of them all is that after a big, scary scare, football is still alive. But most importantly, the Anglo-Italian pod hasn't ceased to exist. We are still here, going harder at it than ever. As always, this is the Anglo-Italian pod. I'm Tommaso, and you can find us on Instagram at Anglo-Italian pod.
And I'm Rory. You can join us on Twitter at Italian Anglo Pod. I think I'm much calmer today. I feel like my relationship with Arsenal is still strained. It's still very strained, but I can now maybe wear a shirt and slightly look forward to our match tomorrow as much as I would anyway. How are you doing, Tommy?
Yeah, Rory, you were in huge distress when that news came out.
I was honestly a broken man. And I think I mentioned it again on Friday. Not getting the requisite sympathy from the missus that I thought the destruction of football warranted, and I was in emotional turmoil. But look, there's still a lot of work to do that we're going to talk about. But I feel more at ease. Let's just say that.
That's great. One quote that I loved from you, Rory. I don't even know if you remember that when we started chatting about the Super League. You said, "All the work we've done this year for nothing. Football is over."
Yeah. Just frig me. Like, the 1 year we finally start to try and do something, and it's like, actually, we're going to ruin it all? Yeah. But, to all the football fans out there that tweeted like there was no tomorrow and turned up to stadiums and made noise, whatever you did, just keep doing it, and thank you.
Yeah, also because you'll find out during the Euroreview, this is just the first of many fights, and the second one needs to be fought right now. Right now, we're about to jump to the Euroreview, where we're going to cover Europe's top 5 leagues. Of course, as always, Bundesliga, La Liga, Ligue 1, Serie A, and the Premier League, but also a bit of Coupe de France. We are going to talk a little more extensively, once again, about the Super League, and I'm going to read to you the AC Milan supporters' official statement concerning the Super League, which I found very interesting. But most importantly, we have our first professional footballer currently as a guest. Her name is Millie. She plays for San Marino, and she will be joining us for our weekly topic. And then, of course, the last section will be dedicated to the infamous 1 minute to kickoff quiz. Rory, quite a dense program. Are you ready?
There's a lot to get through. Let's go.
And it might sound quite unthinkable, but after all this madness, we are back in the Euroreview blimp, ready to talk some football. Don't get your hopes too up. We're still going to talk about the Super League and all the madness that has unfolded in these days, but we're going to start from actual football, and especially in Germany. Rory, what was the action all about this week?
Yeah, honestly, it felt weird to maybe last night I actually sat and watched the first game since all this madness kicked off. And I was like, this is what we were actually talking about. Football. This is what we like about it. We're going to sit and watch the game. But yeah, in Germany, well, the long fight is unfortunately over for Schalke, as they finally have been relegated after a 1-0 loss to Arminia Bielefeld. This is their first relegation since 1991. And it's fair to say both the fans and the players took it pretty hard. Obviously not a massive surprise. This is a great, proud club in German history. Historically one of the big boys, along with Bayern and Hamburg. And this is a team that has a great history, and it's such a shame to see what is going on there. The madness both on and off the pitch. But there was quite a comical / dark story that came out this week, as Mustafi and Kolasinac were videoed being chased by ultras outside the stadium. And it was, obviously this isn't funny, right? Like, ultras chasing footballers trying to kill them. You're like, okay, guys, I know your club's been relegated, but get a grip. But there was something quite funny about the image. It's the fastest I've ever seen Mustafi run, and he played for Arsenal for 6 years, however long it was. He was sprinting. But just the image of the two silhouettes running, and then 30 silhouettes behind them, it just looked quite comical. I did have a little chuckle, but then you realise oh shit, that's actually quite dangerous. But I was also disappointed in the fact that Kolasinac didn't think he could take them all by himself. We've all seen the video where he protected Mesut Ozil, right? I was ashamed he wasn't just there with a crowbar, like, boys, let's go. Like,
yeah, and I think it's an interesting story because we're going to talk a lot about fans also in this episode. And when we say that football is for the fans, we don't mean that football is about bashing players with a crowbar.
Yeah, I think there's definitely still a line. But this is obviously the sad story of the week. And there was a brutal interview with Gerald Asamoah, who's like a Schalke legend. He's recently come in as, like, I think his role is to be the middleman between the board and the players and the coach. And Schalke has been a big part of his life. And he did a post-match conference after the relegation, and it's pretty brutal watching. He was holding back the tears and apologising, saying, look, Schalke's been such a big part of my life. We're ashamed that we're part of this chapter, but we will be back stronger. And it was, they will be, right? They're going to sort out this mess at the back, like behind the pitch. They will sort it out, and hopefully they'll be back next year.
And whenever I think of Schalke, I also think of the amazing players that have played for Schalke. I had the pleasure to see Manuel Neuer play at the San Siro when Stankovic scored that goal at the San Siro. I remember Rakitic was at the Schalke. These are just names coming off the top of my head, but there are many, many more. And then, of course, Mustafi and Kolasinac.
Well, obviously, we're going to add to that. We're going to add to that list a little bit. But players like you said, Neuer, Jens Lehmann, Hans Guter. There's Mesut Ozil, of course, came through here. There's been so many players, as well as Joel Matip, right? And of course, like Raul played there for a while. Like, this is a big club, and it is a shame to see them where they are. But I'm sure they'll be back soon enough. Hopefully, I would like to see their fans have a bit of fun at some point. I do feel quite bad.
This season was not fun at all for them. But so Schalke are down. What are the other headlines in Bundesliga?
Well, even sadder news, unfortunately, is that Hennes, the Köln mascot, the goat, right? They have a live goat as their mascot. Unfortunately, this week he passed away at the age of 14. He is the 9th goat in that goat family. It's like, honestly, the same bloodline. It's insane. I was reading about it, right? And he was named after their manager. Now I'm going to get this right. Hennes Weisweiler, who won 2 DFB Pokals and the Bundesliga with Köln in 77-78. So everyone was very sad about the GOAT passing. But Köln did manage to win 2-1, beating RB Leipzig 2-1 nonetheless. So they sent the GOAT off in style at least. So our thoughts and prayers out to the family of Hennes the GOAT.
I'm going to say a little GOAT prayer. Bah. All right.
Beautiful. It's a classic. It's a classic. But that does mean that result has meant that the points gap at the top of the Bundesliga is now 10 points, as RB Leipzig, as I said, lost to Köln, and Bayern Munich won 2-0 against Leverkusen. So, look, we know now on this pod, we're not making any calls or any claims about title races. We're just going to say it's a 10-point gap with 5 games left. That's all. No, yeah. Wait, how many games left? How many teams are in the league? 18. So that's 6 games left. 6 games left, 10-point gap. Not over yet.
But we're not going to add anything to that, right?
That's it. So in the Bundesliga, the big games this weekend, we have Mainz versus Bayern on Saturday at 3:30. Mainz are now unbeaten in 6. Their new manager who took over, Bo Svensson, he took over in January. They were looking like relegation certainties. He's been in charge for 15 games, winning 7, drawing 4, and losing 4. So like I said, they're unbeaten in 6 and winning their last 2. So who knows? They could give Bayern a bit of a fight here. Beyond there, we have Wolfsburg versus Dortmund on Saturday at 3:30 as well. That's 3rd versus 5th. Dortmund now only 4 points off top 4. And Frankfurt, somehow, they've managed to find their way still with a bit of life in them. And Sancho is back for Dortmund, so that could be massive. And then finally, on Sunday, we have RB Leipzig versus Stuttgart at 3:30. Those are my Bundesliga games of the weekend. Shall we head to Spain?
Let's do that. Spain, we are recording on a Thursday afternoon as always. And as we speak, Atletico Madrid are playing SD Huesca at home, baby. Of course, a massive game for Atletico Madrid because Real Madrid won the game last night. They won 3-0 with a brace by, would you ever guess, Rory?
Karim the Dream.
The Dream himself, Karim, with a brace by Karim and the goal by Odriozola. Every time I read about Odriozola, I think that last year he went on loan to Bayern Munich, and during his first training session, he injured Perisic, going studs up against his ankle. That was the first, man, it was so funny. There was the picture of Odriozola with the Bayern jersey. 5 minutes later, first training, 10 minutes later, Perisic out on a stretcher. So, yeah, glad to see that the guy has also learned to score goals besides injuring his teammates. Barcelona are going to play tonight at 10 p.m. against Getafe, but yes, this is a must win. Every game is a must win for Atletico Madrid if they want to seal the title. But another team that caught my eye in Spain is Valencia, because they can't help but flirt with relegation. Now, Valencia are sitting 14th in the league with 35 points, but the drop zone is only at 28, and Real Valladolid still have to play today. They have played, but they have one game in hand. So they are flirting big time with the relegation zone. We remember their players crying during an interview. I don't remember who it was, shedding a few tears.
Gabriel, the ex-Arsenal player. Yeah.
Shedding a few tears during an interview, saying we don't want to even think about it. But I'm looking at their last 5 games in the league, and they've got only 1 win, 2 losses, and 2 draws. The latest loss came last night against Osasuna, 3-1. And I mean, not to disrespect, Osasuna are having a pretty good season, but Valencia are definitely not giving their fans what they would love to see for a final push. When you think that
they were in a Europa League semi-final last year, they played against Arsenal in the Europa League semi-final, right? Wow. So they were not a bad team, right? Obviously, they lost a lot of players last summer, right? Rodrigo went to Leeds. They lost Ferran Torres to City. Obviously, financial trouble as always in Valencia. It would be so awful to see another big club drop out of a major league. Would be pretty horrific to see. But if anything, we've learned this week, it's that Spanish football is financially in tatters, and a lot of clubs are going to be going through these problems.
Absolutely. And another team that caught my eye is Sevilla. 4 consecutive wins. The first of the streak came against Atletico Madrid. They always seem to win by 1 goal and 1 goal only, but they've been effective. And currently, as I speak, they are sitting 3rd in the league, only 3 points behind Real Madrid. But Barcelona have got 2 games in hand. They played the Copa del Rey final. Tonight they're playing a game, and then they will recover the other one missing. But definitely La Liga, one of the most exciting top 4 scenarios at the moment in Europe. And here, just like we did in Germany, we're just simply not going to say anything about the top of the league, who might win it, who we're supporting. If you know the podcast, you know it. Let's move on to France, Rory.
Well, you talked about one of the most exciting top 4s in Europe. We're going to go to, I would argue, the most exciting top 4 in Europe at the moment. And we're in Ligue 1, where the top 4 teams are separated by 3 points. 3 points. So it is tight up there. We currently have Lille on 70 points, PSG on 69, Monaco on 68, and Lyon on 67. It is so ridiculously tight, but it's great to see. But during the week this week in France, there was Coupe de France action. Now, you might remember we were talking about Canet-Roussillon, the 4th division team who managed to get all their way to the quarterfinal. Well, unfortunately, they've hit the end of the road and they lost 2-1 to 10-man Montpellier. Ultimately, what a run in a cup for a team from the 4th division. Just incredible. But it turns out, Tommy, we were focusing on the wrong fourth division team because now Rumilly Valliere, who are in the same level as Canet Roussillon, are now into the semi-finals after they beat Toulouse 2-0, right? So Toulouse, who are in Ligue 2, I believe they got relegated last year from Ligue 1. They lost 2-0 to the amateur side. Goals from Mathieu Guyot. I just wanted to give him his props because why not? And an own goal from Anthony Rosal. So they are now into the semi-finals. Who they're going to face is to be decided, but they will be playing at the National Stadium in Paris, which is incredible, right? So they'll be playing at the Stade de France, and a great occasion for those players. The scenes of them celebrating getting into the semis were incredible. In the other semi-finals, we had PSG beat Angers 5-0, an Icardi hat-trick, Neymar and Monco. And you have to check out Angel Di Maria's assist for one of the goals was a beautiful Rabona across the 6-yard box. Oh, bon appetit. I know that doesn't fit, but it was beautiful. And then in the other...
One thing that I just come in now, it doesn't make any sense. We're talking about France, but of course, on Monday night, when we did our Euro review Monday on Twitch, we solely talked about the Super League. And of course, we didn't mention that Barcelona won the Copa del Rey. It was a strange final because 3 goals were scored in the matter of 7 minutes, but one of those Messi goals. Yeah, jinx it. Yeah, we said the same words at the same time. But man, one of those Messi goals, he keeps the ball that extra second that fucks up the entire defense. And I would hate to try and keep my composure as a defender around Messi. I think that I would just get
I'd end up on my face so quickly. You know that clip of, who was it, the Davinson Sanchez for Spurs when he ended up getting put on his face by, I can't remember who it was, Gnabry. That would be me in seconds. Absolutely seconds.
Boateng got put on his ass by Messi himself. That is still the most brilliant. But sorry, Rory, the other semi-final...
And one of those goals involved a 60-pass move, I read somewhere, which is absolutely mental. But in the final semi-final, we had Monaco beating Lyon 2-0. A goal, of course, from Ben Yedder. It seems every game that guy's scoring for Monaco at the moment. And Kevin Volland. So the semi-finals of the Coupe de France are going to be Montpellier, Rumilly Valliere, PSG, and Monaco. We don't know who's playing who yet. Again, I've searched. I don't know when the draw is, so hopefully we'll be able to tell you next episode who's playing who. But if we go to actual Ligue 1, as I said, the top 4 are separated by 3 points. And this weekend, we have Lyon versus Lille. So Lille have had a hell of a run of fixtures recently. They only played PSG 2 weeks ago, managing to win 1-0. But this weekend, they're playing Lyon on Sunday at 9 o'clock. Last time, it was 1-1. Lille are unbeaten in 3, winning 2, and only conceding 1 goal in that time, including, as I said, the 1-0 win versus PSG. And Lyon, who looked like they were kind of faltering a little bit, have now won their last 2 Ligue 1 games against Nantes and Angers. And if they win, they could go level on points with Lille. So it's all incredibly tight there. Amongst the top of the table, PSG are playing Metz on Saturday at 5 o'clock, and Angers are hosting Monaco on Sunday at 5:05. In the relegation battle, this could be the final weekend for Dijon. They won their first game in 14 last weekend, but if they lose and if Lorient win, who are playing Bordeaux, then Dijon will be relegated, unfortunately. That is our Ligue 1 preview.
Yeah, and I made a mess out of Spain. I forgot to preview this weekend's games. So sorry, listeners. We're very excited to talk about this.
Here we go.
Yeah, as you can imagine. But no, this weekend the standout games concerning the top 4 are going to be Real Madrid taking on Real Betis at home. This is at 9 on Saturday evening. Then we've got on Sunday at 4:15 p.m. Barcelona taking on Villarreal away, and Atletico Madrid play the big Sunday night fixtures against Athletic Club away. So these I kind of can feel that this weekend is going to be, if not decisive, is going to tell us something more about the title race. And in the relegation zone, there is going to be quite the relegation battle between Valencia and Deportivo Alaves. I think that the relegation battle in Spain is actually one of the most open. Eibar are last with 23 points, and the Huesca are out of the drop zone currently at 28 points. So only a 5-point difference. And there are a bunch of teams that are not that in shape that could risk the drop zone as well. But let's go to Italy, where last night something quite funny happened, in my opinion. So, and here we enter in Super League territory. Sassuolo coach De Zerbi said that unless he was going to be forced to go to the San Siro, he wouldn't want to go because AC Milan was one of the teams featuring in the Super League project. And he said that to him, it just didn't make sense to go to Milan. In the end, it did, and Sassuolo came back from 1-0 to claim the game against AC Milan. I think it's a little nice revenge for Mr. De Zerbi. The standout name in this game, of course, was Raspadori. Now, Raspadori is
Can I just say, I really like that name. Something about that name is very pleasing to hear. Raspadori. I don't know. Does it mean anything? It doesn't mean anything, no?
Well, Rory, now that you said it, raspare, it means to like scratch something off the table. So, raschiare il fondo, to scratch the bottom, it means that you're really in dire straits, right?
Okay, right.
But in some Italian dialects, raspone is also a hand job, Rory. So it's funny that you said that it's a name that you find very pleasing, because every time I hear Raspadori, I either think of a carpenter or somebody pleasing themselves. But Raspadori is 21 years old. Is class of 2000. He's already got 4 goals this season. He came on as a sub. Go watch his second goal. It's all about the control? Not really, because then he just shoots an impossible shot to save to the second post and in. That was the 2-1, and Sassuolo claimed the game against AC Milan, who are currently sitting 10 points behind Inter, who are still table leaders despite a second consecutive draw. So we didn't cover the game against the Napoli. See, I am a little worried, but then I talked to other Inter fans and they're like, Tommy, come on. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm pessimistic. Maybe I've seen my dad cry.
It's always safer to be pessimistic. That is the motto that I live my life by. I am like, it is always safer to be pessimistic.
Right. That's what I was trying to tell Michael last night. I was like, I don't know, man. I'm a little worried. And he was laughing at me. And they said, dude, I've literally seen my dad cry in front of the television because of Inter Milan in 2002. I don't want that to happen again. Inter tied a second consecutive game, which is kind of unprecedented after 11 consecutive wins in the league. The first draw came against the Napoli last weekend. Not the prettiest of games, in my opinion. And last night against the Spezia, it was a very frustrating draw because Inter Milan controlled the game big time, but Spezia played a beautiful defensive game. Now, if you're a customary listener of the pod, you know that I have a soft spot for tight defenses. The thing is that they were playing with a very high line, and they trapped Inter into the offside trap 6 times. Now, if you want, in the previous 3 games, you would have to sum those previous 3 games to get 6 offsides whistled against Inter Milan. They managed to have them, to give them 6 in only 1 game. So once again, another huge praise to their coach, Vincenzo Italiano. He was super vocal on the sideline. And at a point, I heard it and then I saw a bunch of people reported it on Instagram. He said, don't play with fear. Keep the high line. Don't worry about it. And the players were, I mean, you're playing arguably the best team in Italy. And they also were kind of lucky. Lautaro got a post. There were a few brilliant saves by their goalkeeper. But overall, they seem like a team that can really play confident football.
Well, this is something that's like, obviously he's done his research because we know, well, obviously he's done his research, but Lukaku and Martinez are both strikers who like to play on the shoulder, right? They like to be on the, like, just on the border, just ready to break that. So he's obviously coached the team incredibly well over the week or throughout the season to practice that offside trap. It feels like a while since I've heard the phrase offside trap. I like it. But obviously, they've been well drilled. They've done it well, and they've managed to catch both Lukaku and Martinez out. Fair play to them. We've said from the beginning of the season we quite like the Spezia story. Obviously, still their first season in Serie A, and they're looking comfortable, right?
Yeah, very comfortable. They're sitting currently at 33 points. The drop zone starts at 28, but I don't think they're going to be relegated. Let me take a look at their calendar.
Touch wood. That's a prediction, Tommy. Touch wood. We can't make predictions.
Right. No, they only have a difficult game could be against Napoli. The last game of the season against Roma. I believe they won the first game against Roma this year. I think that does
ring a bell. Yeah.
Nope. They lost it 4-3, but they were almost there. Yeah. In always talking about the top of the league, as we are speaking, Atalanta are winning 1-0 against Roma, and they see themselves all of a sudden second in the league. AC Milan third and Juventus fourth. Now, Atalanta 67, AC Milan 66, Juventus 65, Napoli 60, but they are playing tonight against Lazio, who are sixth at 58. Now, last night, when I was looking these very standings, I thought, oh my God, it would suck if AC Milan or Juventus were not playing in a Champions League fight right now. If they were all set to be in the Super League and they wouldn't care about what position they would end. This is one of the reasons, and we'll cover it in depth, why we don't want the Super League to happen.
Precisely.
Exactly. And Juventus also got a little scare. Man, go check out that free kick by Brugman right in front of Il Maestro Pirlo. Woo! That was.
We need to talk about Ronaldo in Wolves.
Right?
This is like not the first time, or the second time, or the third time. I think this is the fourth, maybe third or fourth time they've conceded from a free kick because Ronaldo has protected his face or ducked out of the way of a shot. Why do they keep putting him in Wolves? Just stick him up top and say, right, just don't even fucking defend. You just stand at the top, wait for the break, and we'll put someone else who's willing to get hit in the face.
Yeah, he's quite a tall dude, but yesterday there were memes all over Instagram about him looking like a ballet dancer. You see him like stretching his leg in front of him and doing this sort of heart pose with his hands. It was quite ridiculous, but thanks to a brace by Alexandro. I don't think I've ever said this sentence before. Let me brace by Alexandro. No, I don't think I ever have. And the goal by the Ligue, they claimed the game with a 3-1 win. Elsewhere in the table, Genoa-Benevento 2-2. Now, this was a 2-2 draw, and everything happened in the first 21 minutes of play. The standout name in this match is Goran Pandev. Yes, the guy who scored the first goal for Macedonia when the Twin Towers were still standing. I'm going to say it. He becomes the first Macedonian to have scored a total of 100 goals in any European league. Goran, at this point, you're excused, even your dumb as fuck haircut. We forgive you for that.
Right, would you say he's a... No, he's not a Serie A legend, is he? Is he a Serie A legend?
He's a Serie A legend. He's won the Champions League with Inter Milan, dude.
Well, no, that's true. That's true.
He's playing for Lazio, Inter Milan, Napoli. He's becoming, and I think that people have good memories of him wherever he's been. And right now, he's becoming kind of like the big name at Genoa.
Apart from Destro, of course.
Apart from Destro, right? And then Crotone Sampdoria, who scored a winner for Sampdoria? Of course, Fabio Quagliarella. And Bologna-Torino with a 1-1 draw, but that strike by Mandragora, who I keep benching in fantasy football, was quite something. Outside of the box, an absolute rocket to the second post. one of those goals that you're like, you can be the best goalkeeper in the world. You are never going to pick that out. In Italy, as games are unfolding, I remind our fans that we are currently keeping an eye on Atalanta and Roma. Tonight, we also have Napoli versus Lazio. And in the relegation zone, Benevento are above it by 3 points. Torino are also above it by 3 points with 1 game in hand. And then we've got Spezia. Crotone seem doomed to drop. Parma as well. But I think that the third name in the relegation zone
it's really tight down there because Fiorentina, Genoa, and Spezia are all on 33. They could all easily get roped into that. And Udinese are only on 36, who've won 1 in their last 5, right? So it's like, anyone could drop still. I think you're right with Crotone and Parma. Like, I like Parma. It's a shame that it looks like they're going to go down. But there's a few that could be dragged into that quite easily.
It's a shame also from a management point of view that Parma are going to drop because they spent a shit ton of money on that team, just like Cagliari mismanaged all season long, no backup plan. They kind of deserve to be where they are. But keep an eye on Fiorentina. This would be the 3rd consecutive season that Fiorentina aggressively flirt with the Serie B. Aggressively. And 2 years ago, I remember, I will not say the name of the journalist because I don't remember who it was, but they played the last game. That game was fixed then. They tied the game 0-0 against another team. I don't remember who they were, but a draw was fine for them. And the Spanish commentator said repeatedly, I'm going to stay here and commentate this game just out of sheer professionalism, but this is bullshit, and it's the most boring and ridiculous game I've ever seen in my entire life. So,
it's interesting because you get teams like that. I seem to think that like Bournemouth in the Prem kind of flirted with relegation for a long time. Maybe Villa before they went down, and you run out of luck. You have 3 or 4 years where you avoid it, and then eventually it happens, right? And it's just, you can only battle it for so many years before eventually you just drop down. And Fiorentina need to do something. If they survive this season, there needs to be a turnaround there. There needs to be a lot of investment or something to make sure that next season they're not even slightly flirting with it, because you will, like I said, you will run out of luck, and all of a sudden you'll find yourself down on the last day of the season. And it doesn't matter what name is on the badge. As long as the Super League doesn't exist, it doesn't matter what name is on the badge. You will go down, right?
And now, thank you for the leeway. Let's move to the country where the Super League originated from, England. Maybe.
Oh, well, all right, okay, let's kick off with that. If I hear one more person in Italy on Twitter blaming it all on the Premier League, go fuck yourselves, right? There was some Juve fan on fucking Twitter, and I had to reply to him.
I saw that.
It made me so angry. He's like, the Premier League. Mate, look at your own club and how you fixed the league and made everybody outside of Italy stop giving a fuck about Serie A. Serie A lost its respect outside of Italy at that point after Calciopoli. A load of people just went, oh, fuck that, I'm not watching that anymore. Juve did that. Milan did that. Was it Fiorentina? They did that, right? Clean up your own garden before you start looking at someone else's, right? It made me so angry. And this narrative of it's all the Premier League teams, Vaffanculo, fuck off. I've had enough of it, honestly. It's pissing me off.
Nice.
Really pissing me off. Because... yes, the Prem, the teams are shitheads, right? They're owned by shitheads. We don't like any of them, but own your own shit, right? They're all as bad as each other. All these fans going, well, we left before you. Well done. You can write a press statement quicker than our secretaries. Well done. Like, that's the competition. Can we just all take the L and accept that our owners are dickheads? Just accept it. There's no winners. There's no there's no winners. We're all losers in this situation, right?
Agreed.
And this unity between fans that we were all praising of, we came together and rescued football, lasted about 2 hours before we all turned on each other and went, well, you're worse than us. You joined before we did. Oh, fuck off.
I think it's just, but we will cover it very soon. I think it's just funny, but there is a reason behind it. Because the Premier League is by far the most competitive European league, and the majority of teams of this alleged Super League were all from England. But Rory, don't worry. Love you, buddy.
Because we've got more bigger teams.
It's all good. It's all good. Shh. It's all good. Let's talk about football. Go.
We're going to look at the Premier League, right, and actual football. So obviously, I didn't really watch any of the games this week because I was in and out of love with football. But last night, I did sit and watch Tottenham against Southampton, and I did watch Man City versus Villa.
We have never mentioned in this spot. Well, we mentioned it on Monday night.
What's that?
Tottenham are the only team coached by Mourinho to have not won a trophy.
Yeah.
Come on, how could we
overlook that? Very Tottenham. So very Tottenham. Okay, let's go for Tottenham. Mourinho has been very lucky with the PR and the timing of his sacking that nobody is talking about it. Not one person is talking about the fact that he got sacked, right? It was so weird that for that specific amount of time that he was sacked, everyone else was just talking about the Super League. Of course, it's just funny. Yeah, I think Tottenham will be glad that they've got rid of him. Tottenham fans will be glad that they've got rid of him. I think it's the right thing to do. I do think Spurs got rid of him thinking that the Super League would be coming in and they'd get more money. And obviously that's not happening now. They have paid a lot of money to get rid of Mourinho, but apparently they've had to pay less because of their position in the table. And that's why they waited. They waited for them to drop to a certain point so that in his contract it was just a different clause and then they could pay less. But anyway, he's gone. We'll see where he ends up next. There was rumours of him ended up in Scotland. There's rumours of him going to Roma. There's rumours of him going to Portugal. He will be back, but we don't know where.
He did say between yesterday and today in a statement that he doesn't need time to rest. He doesn't need time to recharge batteries. There are teams that have contacted him and he's ready to go again. Jose, go for it. Tottenham.
Right, where do you think he's going to be? What league is he going to pop up in? I don't think he'll be in the Prem. I don't think it's maybe he's going to pull an Ancelotti move and go to like a less big of a name. He already did that. He went to Tottenham.
Right.
That's not even a dig. It's just a fact.
No, yeah, I agree with you. But yeah, I don't know. It's very hard to picture Mourinho in Italy. Definitely not at Juventus. I think Allegri is going to be back at Juventus next year. I wasn't convinced.
Just going back to square one.
Yeah, I wasn't convinced at first, but talking to people, reading articles, it just feels like, I don't know, he watches games with Agnelli and shit like that. And in Italy, I don't know, man. I really don't know. Mourinho in Italy, it's kind of hard to see him in any sideline except Inter's. Maybe Bundesliga, the first adventure in Bundesliga. Who knows?
Oh, that would be interesting. See if he could overthrow Bayern. But if we're going to look at the Premier League, and replacing Mourinho was now, Tommy. You know how we've said we feel old, that there's players who are younger than us, or younger than me anyway. Yes. Now there is a manager who is younger than me, as Ryan Mason has taken over as interim manager. He is 29 years old. He is younger than Sky Sports.
What a dick! What an absolute dick!
Absolutely mental. Well, you're going to take that back when you hear about his career because it's incredibly sad. He had to retire at 26 because he sustained an injury where he cracked his skull and he had to retire. He came from the Tottenham youth system, played for Tottenham all his career. It's actually quite a nice story that he's now in charge of the club. He took over for his first game and they won. So they came from 1-0 down to beat Southampton 2-1. Gareth Bale with a beautiful goal, who now has 11 goal involvements in his last 11 appearances for Spurs. Why wasn't Mourinho starting him? Really weird, I think. We've seen that since Bale's come back from Spurs, obviously he's hit and miss. We've seen that he is still a very talented player. He can still turn up. And he could be key for Tottenham as they head into the weekend for the League Cup final against Manchester City. So this is on Sunday, and Manchester City, here's a stat for you, Tommy, right? Manchester City have been in the last 5 of the last 7 League Cup finals, right? And they've winning all 5.
Now, I think Mourinho took them to that final. He deserved to play that final. He's won a trophy everywhere he's been. Mm-hmm. I don't know the reasoning behind his sacking right now, but I mean, he must have really fallen off, but let him play that final. Let's see what happens. But at the same time, I can understand kind of like new energy for the final, a new coach, new mentality, maybe that can help too. I don't know. At some point, things get stagnant, don't they?
It is also incredibly Spurs to sack their manager before the first final they've reached in years and just like sack their manager. And like, logic would dictate just give him the final. Just wait until after the final, see where you stand. If he wins you the cup, then you can't really sack him, right? Maybe that's why they did it. But he wasn't going to win you the cup. It's Man City in the League Cup final. They don't fucking lose it. But it is bizarre timing. I think they've made it much harder for themselves. As well as that, they are going to be without Harry Kane, which makes it like he's obviously injured for a while. He's close to being back, but he's just not quite going to be back for the final. So it could be difficult for Spurs, but they are playing Manchester City, who will be missing a key player of their own, as Jonathan Stones was sent off against Aston Villa for a ridiculous tackle, straight red, kind of similar to the Liam Cooper red, I don't know, 3 months ago, however long ago it was. Liam Cooper against Man City was a similar kind of red card to that. It was obvious. There's been some people come out and say it was never a red. You're wrong. But despite that, Manchester City did manage to win 2-1. And Phil Foden, oh my days, he was absolutely tearing that game to pieces. Like, he was just running it. Bernardo Silva got 2 assists. Foden scored 1 of them. And City are looking, after that kind of loss to United and looking a bit wobbly, with 10 men, they managed to beat Villa. So fair play to them. They will be confident coming into this final. Very, very confident.
Phil, I know you're listening. If you want to do one of those very fancy DNA tests to discover your origins, the Anglo-Italian pod has got you covered because we believe that 80% of your bloodline comes from Brazil, because the way you play football is non-European. It's a flashback to watching Brazilian flair all over the pitch. It's beautiful. Keep it going. Once again, huge praise to Pep Guardiola for not burning him, we would say in Italian, away, and for having the patience to really make him grow. And man, him and Kevin De Bruyne. Woo!
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. There's a great picture of him, kind of similar to that Maradona against Belgium, where it's just Phil Foden and then like 5 Aston Villa defenders around him, just all trying to cover him, and he's just kind of dribbling past him. He had an unbelievable performance. Villa actually played really well. They scored within 21 seconds, but it was basically a Man City siege on the goal for the rest of the game. Villa were very disciplined, very structured, kind of didn't disgrace themselves, but Man City, when they're in that mood, even with 10 men, they still looked fairly dominant. So it sets it up for a kind of very interesting League Cup final. I think, like as I said, Man City have now been in 5 of the last 7. If they win this one, they will equal Liverpool's record of winning 4 in a row that was back from the early 80s, I believe. So yeah, this is very much Man City's cup, and I think they might just retain it. So that is on Sunday at, let me check the time. Oh, I didn't put the time. Damn it.
It's on Sunday.
It's on Sunday afternoon.
You guys have got the apps. You can check it.
Yeah, just look on your phones. Lazy. Right, good. And then in the Premier League, yeah,
another thing we didn't mention, because this fucking Super League thing got in the way, we didn't mention that the FA Cup final is set with Chelsea playing Leicester City after Tuchel's Blues defeated Man City in the semi-final, and after Leicester defeated Southampton 1-0, just like Chelsea against Man City last week. The final is going to be played on May 15th. Chelsea-Leicester, who's your winner, Rory?
Well, they were 2 absolutely terrible semi-finals. They were both awful games. I'm going to say, and I've said it, I think I might have said it earlier on the podcast, I have said that I think Leicester could win the FA Cup for a while, so I'm going to back Leicester to do it. Big Brendy to bring a trophy to Leicester would be unbelievable. Can you imagine them Premier League winners and FA Cup winners in the space of like 5 years? That's insane, right?
5 years, yeah.
So I think Leicester can do it. I think if City had got to the final, you'd be saying City all day, but I think Chelsea can be got at. I believe Leicester beat them earlier in the season. So I think, I'm going to back Brendan and his boys. But in the Premier League this weekend, it starts off tomorrow night or tonight as you future people are listening, as Arsenal are playing Everton at 9 o'clock. Now, Arsenal don't have anything to play for. Even if they did, they probably wouldn't try that hard. But the important thing is happening before this game, as there is a protest organised outside the Emirates before the game for Kroenke out. So hopefully we get lots and lots of people there. If I was in the UK, I would be heading back. But unfortunately, I can't.
There was a moment, Rory, for you, it wasn't that funny, but Rory and I have got this chat called Transpond Football Chat, where we chat with our friends Max, Carl, and Reed. They're from the United States, and we talk about football. Rory said, if I was on Colorado, I would try to track down Kroenke's, what did you call it? Like
he's got a ranch in Colorado, hasn't he?
A ranch, and we've got a friend who's really into elk hunting. His name is Forrest, so I said we should introduce Rory to Forrest, and they can
Forrest, if you're listening, you can honestly. My aim isn't that great, but you can train me. I swear, we're coming for you, Stan. But anyway, Arsenal versus Everton. That's at 9 o'clock. Last time Everton won 2-1. It was in the middle of one of Arsenal's terrible runs this season. Now, the big thing for Arsenal is we are without both Lacazette and Aubameyang. So this is going to be a rough game. The last time we didn't play with either of these players was in 2017, before both of them had signed. So this is big. Now, the big decision for Arteta is he going to play Eddie Nketiah, who is rumoured to be off to West Ham in the summer, or is he going to play our bright young prospect, following Balogun, another young American who has just recently signed a 4-year contract with Arsenal after a lot of speculation about him moving abroad? I personally, look, Eddie, I'm a big fan of you. I hope you do really well where you go to next, but I want to see Balogun playing if he's going to be our option next year. So that is at 9 o'clock. Arsenal, terrible form, nothing really to play for. Everton not won in the last 6, 5 in the Premier League and drawn their last 3. But if Arsenal do win, they could go level on points. The next game that I want to talk about was West Ham versus Chelsea. This is on Saturday at 6:30. Now, last time Chelsea won 3-0 while Fat Frank was still in charge. 3-0 definitely flattered Chelsea. Now, these teams are level on points, right? It still sounds mental to say. They're level on points with West Ham in 5th and Chelsea on 4th. So whoever wins this could make a big claim for the Champions League. And interestingly, Chelsea do not have a good record away at West Ham. The last time they won away at West Ham was in 2017 with Hazard and Costa getting the goals. So that's how long ago it was. But Chelsea have only conceded 1 in their last 3. West Ham haven't kept a clean sheet in 5 games and conceded 11 in 5 in that time. We know with all the 3s, 3-3, 3-2, 3-2, 3-2, 3-2, right? So West Ham definitely need to shore things up. They've obviously got a lot of injuries with Antonio Rice, like Ogbonna. Now there's Masuaku and Cresswell added to that list. They do have Fredericks back, which is a boost, but I really hope West Ham pull it off, but I'm not holding my breath for them. That's on Saturday at 6:30. And the final game we're going to talk about in the Prem is Leeds United versus Manchester United on Sunday at 3 o'clock. Now, I've talked a few times about how we all wish Ellen Road was full. I wish Ellen Road was full. I really wish it was full for this game. Leeds versus United is a big derby. They really fucking hate each other. Last time it was 6-2 in that insanity where Leeds just kept attacking despite being 5-1 down, like they do. So I think it could be a really, really entertaining game. Obviously, in Manchester today, their fans have voiced their disappointment at the Glazers by storming the Carrington training ground, stopping the United players from entering, until Ollie had to go out and talk to the fans, calm them down, and tell them to please leave. Manchester United were then able to train. So, obviously, an unsettling time at all of these big clubs. Leeds still haven't lost to a Big Six team at home this season. So, I would back Leeds to get a result here. I think this is going to be a really, really interesting game, as Leeds games always are. Sunday, 3 o'clock. Do it. That is the Premier League.
A few things about the Premier League still. I thought it was kind of funny that Inter Milan, they went down by 1 goal. AC Milan, they lost the game. Juventus went down by 1 goal. Manchester City got scored on by Aston Villa in the matter of a minute. I think that the opposition playing these teams after the Super League news, they had extra motivation to just go and get the job done. And another thing that I want to say, once again, because of the fucking Super League, we didn't talk about it, but there is quite an exciting game, semi-final, coming up in the Europa League, which is super Anglo-Italian, just like our pod. And it's Roma, Manchester United. I am very excited for this game. I would say it once again, I think that Fonseca is a very good manager who sometimes might overthink things a little bit. He's been struggling in Serie A. Struggling. They're sitting 6th, I believe. They lost the most recent game against Torino. They're losing against Atalanta. But I think he can be the coach to really the opposite of Conte. Basically, Conte is very good at planning the season in the National League. I think Fonseca is good with one straight game. We got to get it right.
Manager. Yeah, cup manager. Exactly. And after I've just started rewatching Sabora, so I've been brushing up on my Roma dialect, and I'm just going to say, Dai Roma. They need to win. They need to win.
And I don't know what's happening with me, Rory, today, but I haven't previewed these weekend's games. Of course, I haven't in Serie A. On Saturday, relegation battle, Parma Calcio against Crotone. We've also got Sassuolo Sampdoria on the same day. Benevento take on Udinese on Sunday. Fiorentina Juventus. You might remember that they won 3-0 against Juventus away from home in the first part of the season. Inter Milan are going to play Verona, which is a game that I'm kind of worried about. Especially,
That'll be an interesting one.
Yeah, we just squeezed the win in December 2-1.
Can Matey play against you, the left back? I've forgotten his name.
Di Marco, yeah. He's going to play. Right. He's going to play. I think, that's one of the things that is worrying me. But the thing that is kind of starting to look scary, that's why I was worried last night. I wasn't worried about AC Milan or Juventus. If Atalanta do win this game against Roma, and you guys will know it by the time you're listening to the pod, they're only 9 points behind Inter Milan. Okay, this Inter Milan take on Hellas Verona, then Cagliari Roma, Atalanta Bologna, and on Monday Torino Napoli, but especially Lazio Milan, Champions League push, relegation battles. Rory, let's talk now for 20 minutes about the Super League. We've got a very exciting interview coming up. She's our first full-on female guest because people did give a stick for interviewing a woman who was, however, talking about a man. This is going
There's no pleasing some people, man. There's no pleasing some people.
I know, read. But this is going to be our first interview our very first interview with a current professional footballer.
Correct.
And so we don't want to tire you too much with our Super League opinions. But, Rory, if you allow me, I would like to start by reading the official statement from Curva Sud Milan. Now, the AC Milan Curva Sud, they are the hardcore supporters of the team. Inter Milan is Curva Nord in San Siro. They are Curva Sud. Before I read the statement, of course, well, I'm just going to read the statement and as it is, and I really liked it. I translated it in English. I hope I did a pretty good job. It's kind of long, but stick with me. Rory, are you ready?
Let's go.
It goes like this. Football belonged to the people even when nothing was done to hinder the unstoppable power of football agents, who brought the players' wages to astounding figures, sustainable only thanks to the money coming from TV rights. Those same TVs that have then imposed crowded calendars with matches to be played at unthinkable days and times. Football belonged to the people even when regulations were introduced to prevent any type of relationship between players and fans. Football belonged to the people even when Supercoppa finals were being played in different continents, and the dates of certain matches were changed just a few days before kickoff. at the expense of hard-working fans who had already purchased train or plane tickets to attend the game. Football belonged to the people even when some highly influential presidents in the Italian League openly stated that despite the results they had achieved on the field, some clubs didn't deserve to be in the top flight simply because they didn't have enough supporters. Football belonged to the people even when certain clubs were led to bypass financial fair play, while others with less influential owners were penalized. Football belonged to the people even when FIFA tried their hardest to award Qatar with the 2022 World Cup, even if this entailed the tournament be played in November, hence disrupting the entire calendar from clubs from all over the world. Qatar, the country accused of countless violations of human rights against the workers building the stadiums, who worked in inhumane conditions and that have claimed nearly 6,500 lives. It's just funny how FIFA was so indifferent throughout all this, since they usually pay a lot of attention to social themes. However, it's starting to feel like they do so only when it's convenient for them. And we could list more examples to underline the overwhelming incoherence we've heard in the words of football's most powerful when we compare them to the actions they have and haven't taken for decades, which took football from being a popular sport to a pure and cruel business tool. A long time ago already, football needed to be completely rethought from its very foundations and at all levels: federations, clubs, sporting directors, and players. The Super League is nothing but the Super League is nothing but the latest sleaze. But whoever has taken football to this point of non-return is nothing less than that. So please spare us your rhetorics and your morals. Now that money is running out, feel free to butt head each other. But please don't you dare naming the fans pigs.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. That is like it takes on so many points, point by point, and just points out, I feel like I'm saying point a lot, and points out the massive week of hypocrisy and disgusting rhetoric we've heard from these companies and these businesses, these organizations that we now are supposed to respect them and thank them for saving our beautiful game. I think, Tommy, the best way to do this is go through paragraph by paragraph and just take it on point by point. So the first paragraph they talk about is the moving fixtures and disrespecting fans, right?
Well, the first paragraph is about football agents, so we can talk about we can talk about that. Football agents who brought the players' wages to stunning figures, sustainable only thanks to the money coming from TV rights. And here it's where they got my attention because it's extremely well connected. Mm-hmm. This is sustainable only thanks to the money that TV gives you. But then TV dictates super crowded calendars and unthinkable match times. Now, let's once again think that the majority of supporters are people who work during the week. They argue with their wife every time they go to the stadium, and they spend money to really support a club without any type of return. So this was the first
Well, this is something we need to talk about as well, because I think we talked about it on Monday about, like, in England, how it's been moving a lot for Sky. It's been like, now you have Friday night football, Monday night football. You have, like, I think I mentioned the case of Newcastle fans having to travel down to London on a Monday night, and it means them taking Monday off work and then probably Tuesday because they won't get back till 2 a.m. Obviously, in Italy, the problem is moving games. Like, Sunday is football day, right? That is the day you go to the football. Saturday is the day you spend with your family, right? And it was a big deal here when they first moved games from Sunday to Saturday, right? So then you can imagine how much of an uproar it now causes that there's games on Friday nights or there's games on Monday nights. Like, and it's absolutely right. They don't think about the people that have to travel to the games, or the people that it doesn't even have to. They want to travel to the games. That's all they want to do. Like, and they just don't think about it. So yeah, it's a very good starter point and one of the key indicators of how little they've thought about fans, which then leads to the rest of the other problems.
Yeah, and then these same TVs, they dictate the times the games should be played at to favor the Asian market or the American market or wherever. And then they also move the Super Cup final. This happened in Italy quite a few years.
This is mental.
China,
that is mental.
Like when you see Lazio and Juventus play in Qatar, I mean, I'm glad for the people who live in Qatar, but not really. I mean, why?
I can't even imagine the uproar if they did that with the FA Cup final in England. I can't even imagine how crazy people would go. Like, there is absolutely no excuse for that beyond, they just offered more money. Like, that is the only excuse. Like,
and the next paragraph is about financial fair play, and it's extremely topical right now because the owner of PSG has just been named the new president of the European Club Association.
I have been biting my tongue on financial fair play for a fucking long time. Honestly, now, I'm going to be calm and collected, but Arsene Wenger was the only manager who stood there and fucking stuck by financial fair play, right? He was the only one of the big club managers who said, we can't spend money, we need to follow these rules. Meanwhile, City, Chelsea, the rest of them just spent whatever fucking money they wanted, PSG, and just completely flouted the rules. And then whenever UEFA try and take them up and go, you've broken the rules, go, oh, sorry, we won't do it again. I promise we won't do it again. Okay, we'll let you off this time, but don't do it again. And then next season they spend another 200 million on their squad, and other clubs are trying to follow the fucking rules. If you implement the rules, then fucking implement them. Just stick it. Like, financial fair play was an absolute joke from the start. The idea is quite sincere, but if you're not going to fucking implement the rules, then what is the point? It means that certain clubs have completely lost competitiveness because they're having to stay within the rules, while the others just completely ignore them. So I hate the financial fair play. I think it is a big, not the main, but it is a big reason as to why Arsenal find themselves in the mess that they're in now, because they simply tried to stick to the financial fair play rules.
I agree with you. And then the next paragraph, and then we also have another point that we would like to touch on, is and I will take it from here, Rory, if you let me, the Qatar 2022 World Cup, which is the first thing that I thought of when this Super League thing happened. Don't get me wrong once again. I never wanted the Super League to happen. I've said it in this pod already today. But I said that I understood what drove it to happen. Now, I loved how fans united against this bullshit. Can we do the same for Qatar 2022? Now, some could argue that these lives have been claimed already. And it would go against any logic to not play there and to honor those lives. But I think that boycotting this World Cup, and this goes beyond just displaying a T-shirt that says we stand for human rights. And I think that here, if any player is listening, it starts from you guys. The World Cup is a huge economical interest for the entire world. It's going to be played, all right? It's going to be played. But it's also down to you to say, I'm not going to play in fucking November in that country that has no football history, but that is the least of problems, but that violated human rights over and over again over the years, with FIFA kindly looking the other way, or maybe even worse, looking directly that way and pretending not to see. If the same fans who opposed so strongly to the Super League are going to sit down and watch this abomination of a World Cup, you guys don't make any sense. This would be pure fucking hypocrisy, because all the arguments behind the Super League are correct, but World Cup 2022 in Qatar, are we going to sit down and obey to the master and just watch it and pay TV rights and buy merchandising? Let's be coherent and let's boycott that shit. It can happen. It wouldn't change anything. Actually, it would make things more simple. We would play the World Cup in summer instead of wearing coats and watching World Cup games in the snow in England and in Italy and in Germany. Fuck that. So this is the thing that I'm the most concerned about. Let's show some coherence. And this is possibly the last thing I want to say.
No, well, I think you're absolutely right. And the Qatar thing, it's been rumbling for years, ever since they got the bid. We knew it was the kind of last nail in the coffin for Sepp Blatter. It was the blatant corruption. And I've read articles in the past about it, and it's been how the Qatari government do it is they bring workers in from Southeast Asia, some from Bangladesh, from India. They bring them into the country, offering them jobs, and then they take their passports away from them so they can't leave. They then put them in these work camps, building the stadiums where they're living in horrific conditions, working awful hours in, as we're aware, a pretty fucking hot country, right? Working them to death and hiding the body bags, right? This is bigger than they're ruining the ethics of football. Where's the competitiveness? They are killing people, right? As Tommy said, nearly 6,500 people. And what makes me even more disgusted is the people who have the voice to speak out and who haven't spoken out. Now, the one who sticks in my mind, because I always really respected him, thought of him as a kind of, a symbol of fair play and a classy player. And this is Franz Beckenbauer. Okay. Now he has obviously had quite a cushy little job at FIFA for quite a while. And he's been one of the people who's been out to Qatar looking at the project for the World Cup. And there's a quote from him, which honestly fucking turns my stomach. Now the quote is, "I haven't seen any slaves in Qatar yet. They're all walking around freely without chains." Fuck you, right? If you think they're not hiding these people from you in the first place, you're a fucking idiot. And then even if they are, you can at least say, I don't know anything about it, but if there is, I hope something is done about it. That is the bare minimum that you could do. But if you've been working with that project intimately and you know there are dead bodies and you do not say anything about it, that makes you that I do not have a positive word to say about you. You are a piece of shit human. Why do you not speak up about this? And I'm saying this, and as you say, we need to boycott the World Cup, right? If the World Cup does play in the winter in Qatar, am I going to not watch? I would like to think I'm not going to watch, right? But it's a World Cup, right? And that's where they've got you. It's by the fucking ball. So we need to turn around, and you're right, the players need to make a stand, but we also need to say, look, we need to make more noise than we did about the Super League. We need to we just need to try and do more, to do something. FIFA could turn around to England tomorrow and say, can you host the World Cup? And England will be able to do it. We have the most amount of elite level stadiums, big capacities. We have the transport infrastructure. We could do it tomorrow. So there is a backup plan. We can make a big noise and a big push for this, for something to happen. Are they going to cancel it? Probably not. But we could at least try and get something done with it. It is honestly, and it's shameful that it's only being talked about now. This World Cup was awarded to them 10 years ago, right?
Yeah, a long time
ago. A long time ago. And it's only being talked about now. And it's like, we're all guilty of it, right? We all have to take a bit of a punch to the pride here and admit that we've kind of overlooked it for too long. But the least we can do now is try and make some noise and hope that some of these ex-players that are involved in it finally have the brass neck to fucking do it. But Franz Beckenbauer, you can honestly go and fuck yourself.
And leeway to talk about the rule that we covered last year in an article when we still were the Anglo-Italian connection and we still wrote articles is the 50+1 rule. I know that many listeners of us are not quite aware of what this is, but this is a rule that is in place in German top-flight football, but not only top-flight, Roy. Maybe
it goes down to Bundesliga 2. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So it goes down to the second division, and it means that each club needs to be owned by 50+1% by the fans. So this means that obviously all the fans can buy shares and they become stakeholders in the club. They have decisions they have a say in all of the decisions that clubs make. Now, this doesn't do much for the kind of competitiveness level of the league. As you can imagine, Bayern Munich have many more fans than, for example, Mainz. so they can source together more money in general and therefore have more financial strength. Of course, it also depends who owns the other 49%, right? So as you can see with Schalke, the madness going on there is about who owns the 49% and not the 51% of fans, right? But what the strength of this system is that everybody has a say. So there are lots of people in England who like to fly when we could pre-COVID times, who instead of going to games in the Prem, it is cheaper to get a flight to Germany and go to games in Dortmund, in Berlin, in Frankfurt, in Dusseldorf, wherever, right? And it's actually cheaper to do that. And this is because the fans have a say in ticket pricing. They have a say in safe standing. They have a say in merchandising. They have a say in all of the decisions that the club makes. And I think this is where the strength of this system is. Now, with the Super League, we've seen that the problem is obviously super wealthy clubs, the imbalance within the sport. Now, to redress this issue, it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to be potentially salary caps. It's going to be spending caps. It's going to be actually implementing the FFP rules. There's going to be a lot of work there to get to that, the kind of equal the competitivity. I keep changing this word, but I think what we want as fans, the main thing that we want is a say in how our club is run. And I think the 50+1 is a good way to do this. And I'm not saying it will be quick to implement, far from it, but I think it is a clear direction that we can quickly head in, right? We know how we can solve this problem by implementing 50+1. How we change the imbalance in the league, we're not quite sure how we do that yet, so there's not a clear direction. I really like this idea. As I said at the beginning, Germany are absolutely schooling the rest of the world in how they run their sport and how they run their leagues. So I think I would honestly be full on board for this. And if it came in at Arsenal, I would be buying shares instantly. I do not have a lot of money, but I will give some of it to Arsenal, even more than I do already, for a say in what happens in that club. I think the big thing is ticket pricing. It's just huge. It's huge.
Yeah, especially in England, the ticket pricing is insane.
I think I was listening back to our Monday episode because we're so bloody interesting. And you were talking, it's just, I can't put it down. But you were talking about how your students aren't really that interested in football, right? Now, there's two things here. In my school, I happen to have kids that are absolutely obsessed with football. But Florentino Perez has talked about how the 16 to 24-year-olds just aren't interested in football. We need to make games shorter. We need to blah, blah. No, we don't. What we need to do is make tickets affordable so that kids can go on their own, right? When they get to 16, 17, 18, they can go on their own. That's what me and my friends did, right? At lower league football, at Crew, we would travel up and down the country because we could afford the bloody tickets. It was a £10 ticket and a £5 on the coach, and you went to the other end of the country and you watched football. I think if you just reduce the prices so that younger people could come in, it would honestly boost the numbers so much. In Germany, there was a survey. So they have two classes of fans, right? Once you're over 36, I think it is, you have to register as an old fan, right? And at that point, you're kind of moved to a different part of the stadium, right? But the end, or the curva, whatever you want to call it, is where all the young fans sit, right? Or where they stand, more importantly, where they stand. And they surveyed these fans and they said, why do you come to the stadium, right? What is the thing that makes you come to the stadium? 60% of them said the atmosphere. Only 40% said to watch the game, right? And they have the terrace culture. They still have that terrace culture. Now, a book that I've mentioned a few times on the pod, you should definitely read it, And the Sun Shines Now, How the Premier League Changed Britain. And he talks about, there's a great quote in it, and he talks about, in the 80s and 90s, we had terrace culture, right? And this is what I kind of remember going to the football with. We would stand in the same place, right? We would be with the same group of blokes, right? If my dad went to the toilet, they'd just look after me. If you know what I mean? It was like a proper community. There was a terrace. People were singing for 90 minutes. It was nonstop. The same stadium now, it is silent. Okay, people don't talk to each other because you're sat on your own, you're sat in your seats, you're sat with your family, whatever it is. And we've lost the culture that goes with it. There's no such thing as seat culture, but there is terrace culture. And in Germany, they've still maintained that. And I think this 50+1 is such a huge part of that. And we could try and class back some of the culture that we all miss from football.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. A revolution needs to happen. I said it on the Monday episode. You can listen to it if you want, but of course. But the thing that I said is that I wish that a luminaire and somebody who really cares about this sits down and draws up a plan for national leagues, especially to be more competitive. We've had a discussion, Rory and I, these days with our American friends about the competitiveness of national leagues. Of course, Serie A is not a competitive league because Juventus have won 9 of the past 10 Scudettos. 9 of the past 10, I repeat, Scudettos. And I think a big revolution needs to be done. Going back to the AC Milan report, another thing that I said on Monday night is that as much as the supporters, the hooligans, are demonized by the media, this thing was brilliantly written in Italian. It's really a community of people that solely dedicate, like Rory and I dedicate our free time to this podcast out of passion. These people go beyond. They put way more money than Rory and I put for this podcast. They really sometimes actually, it's funny. I know more people from the AC Milan Curva than I know from the Inter Curva through a friend that I have who goes there. He's an AC Milan fan. And I've gotten to talk to them. And man, the work that goes behind the choreography, the work that goes behind. And at the same time, for the many years that I went to the San Siro, there was one thing that I did not understand, which was the chant, "We don't care about the game, we are not even watching it." Because there will be people on the stands literally turned around towards the supporter to make them sing. And I was always like, yes, you don't care about the game, but you do care if Inter Milan win. But now that the Super League thing happened, I had like a D-click in my head. And I was like, these people are simply trying to pass on the culture to other generations. So, of course, then the violence and the racism, which was not mentioned in that statement, AC Milan have not really been accused of anything like that.
So that's more an Inter problem than a Milan problem, right?
It is more of an Inter problem, absolutely. But I just thought it was brilliant, and it really made you. The message that it passed on was, we just want the culture to keep going when we won't be there at the stadium anymore. A revolution needs to happen. I'm thinking of Ataturk, what he did with Turkey, who came on after World War One. You can go read his story on Wikipedia. It's super interesting, but it was a person that really sat down and was like, I'm going to build a country out of these strong beliefs that I have. I hope for a person to come into football and do something like that. Sorry, Ataturk, to bother you in your grave and compare you, bring your name into football talk. Another thing I want to say, Rory, is that this past weekend I was with Jaren, the Turkish girl that I've been seeing recently, and I took her to the San Siro because she had never been there. And I was driving, and at a point there were these road signs right outside the San Siro. I didn't know where I needed to go, and I entered from the ambulance lead that takes you to the stadium. And on the way, there were cameras everywhere, and I didn't want to get fined. So on the way out, I stopped the car. I literally went in front of the camera, waved at the camera, pointed at my watch, being like, guys, you can see that it was literally 3 seconds, and then put my hands into prayer mode and was like, please don't.
So Italian. Oh my day.
but this is to say that, man, going outside of the San Siro, God, it really made me feel something. I was
this is weird, because the missus has been asking, can we go and see San Siro? Because she's never been either. And I'm like, yeah, we can, but it's just going to make me sad. It's just going to make me really sad that I can't go in, and I don't know when I can next go in.
But this all said, we are very glad that the Super League is not happening, but we still think that big changes need to be made. There would be also the new Champions League format to talk about, but baby, it would be a little too much in this.
I think maybe we save it for another day. We can just say it's a diet version of the Super League, and it's really basically as bad.
Which goes to show that the reasoning behind this reform was kind of the same that the founding members of the Super League had.
And this adds to the hypocrisy of UEFA and FIFA as well, by the way.
100%.
Yeah.
But this said, after this little break from real football, we are ready to interview our friend Millie, who plays for San Marino Women. It was a very exciting interview. Rory didn't take part in it because he's not as inclusive as I am.
I just morally disagree. No, I was unfortunately, I want to clear that joke up. I was unfortunately teaching and couldn't quite get the time off. Millie, it's not personal. We will come and watch you in San Marino when we're allowed back in stadiums.
Absolutely. Millie is a great guest, our first professional footballer that we've ever had on our podcast. Thank you again, Millie, for coming on. And here comes our weekly topic entirely dedicated to women's football. And here we are for our weekly topic section this week with professional football player for San Marino, Millie Chandarana. How are you doing, Millie, today?
Thank you very much for having me. I'm very well, thank you.
Thank you also on behalf of Rory, who couldn't make it today. So it's just going to be me and Millie chatting about women's football. And again, this is a very exciting moment for our podcast. It's the first female footballer that we have on our show. There are loads of questions that we would like to ask you. Number one, you're in San Marino. How does it feel? I've never been to San Marino, I believe.
Yeah, no, this year is my first time in San Marino, anywhere near Rimini, in fact. No, it's nice. It's a really nice country. It's a nice place to play, nice place to live. With the sun, even better. Nice.
Is it good weather right now?
Definitely. Today it's very good weather. This week has been a little bit cloudy, but now the sun's starting to shine.
How does it feel that it's a city, but it's actually a country? Do you feel that when you go around day by day? Do the people from San Marino feel strongly about this national identity?
Yeah, in the beginning I found it a little strange. I didn't really know much about the difference between San Marino and Italy, but it is a little community in San Marino. It is a little country, a little community. We live just outside, so we live in Italy. Mm-hmm. And it is different. There are differences between San Marino and Italy, and it's nice. It's nice to see. It's more of it is definitely a community in San Marino.
Nice. I'm sure there are people that, just like you, they commute every day from Italy to San Marino and the other way around, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure of it. Like some of our girls, they do that. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. But this is not the first year that you're in Italy. You are a central defender for San Marino, but where were you playing before then?
In fact, I play midfield, attacking midfield for both San Marino and for last year I played in UPC Tavignaco in Udine, a very prestigious club. It was Tavignaco. They spent 20 years in the Serie A. And then after last year, I moved here to San Marino. They're new into the Serie A this year. It's their first year in the league. And we've competed for the full year. We've done really well. No, it's been good. It's been a good challenge for us.
So right now you are at the 18th game of the season. How many games left until the end?
We have 4 games left. So it's coming up to a tough period. It's coming up to the real season, the real league, the real challenge.
And I guess you're also the first active footballer playing in a professional league that we're interviewing. Is the pressure building up? How are you feeling going into these final 4 games of the season?
Definitely the pressure's there. We're fighting the relegation battle, so we're looking to save ourselves, basically. And it's a challenge, but this is what football's about. Everyone loves this challenge. You spend your years waiting for these weeks where you play and you fight for your team to stay in the league.
Are you the kind of person that comes out with the pressure, that really delivers good performances when the pressure comes?
a difficult question, that one. I would like to say yes. But definitely, like anything in life, like the mental challenge of it, the mental side of it is massive. So having another 10 players on the pitch with you, having another 20 players with you around you, we can face it together. And I think it's more important as a team to face it together, rather than the individual. Once you can share all that pressure and you do it together, it's more of a reward, really. You get more out of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, there are so many things I want to ask you. I'm kind of creating a mental order of things that I would like to discuss in our pod today. But let's go back from the start. So you're originally from Manchester, and that's where you started playing football. The first question I wanted to ask you is, how did you get into football? Do you have a specific memory of that moment when you said, I like playing this game. This is what I really like doing?
I don't have a specific moment. I guess it was just in my family. It's always been in my family, football. My granddad used to play. My uncles used to play. I remember one specific moment that I recall quite often. I was around 8 years old in primary school, and we had a trial for the school team. The whole school team were boys. And me and 3 other girls decided to trial. It was the first time girls have trialed for this team. So we decided to trial. And I was on the pitch and I loved it. And I got the ball and I took a shot, and it was a great shot. It was from nearly the halfway line and it went just past the post. The keeper had to dive half of the goal to try and save it. But it was a shot in my own goal. I shot at my own goal. And that was the point.
They had not explained that there were two goals and you should aim for only one per half.
I guess as an 8-year-old, I just wanted to shoot the ball. At that point, my teacher said, I guess not this year for the school team, but there is a girls' team close by. So then I went to the girls' team and it just built from there, really.
All right.
I ended up shooting at the opposition goal after that, not at my own goal. So
nice. Have you ever done that again, shooting in your own goal?
No, I learned from my lesson.
Just for the sake of it, sometimes check if your goalkeeper has got good reflexes. But so a few weeks back, we had some American friends on, and we started an interesting conversation about how in the United States, if you want to play football professionally, we were talking about men's football, but at some point you have to go to a private club. So I'm wondering, how was it for you? So you kind of understood too that you had to go to a private club outside of school to play soccer?
Yeah, so the girls' team had just been created, the younger girls' team. It was already a well-established team in England. It was called Curzon Ashton. They had a ladies' team and they were quite high up in the league at that point. The league was different, but I think they were in the top league at that point. So it was amazing to have that on my doorstep. It was about a 10-minute walk from my house and it was completely amazing. I was really lucky in that sense. And then it built from there. From that moment, I was just in women's teams from then on. And then it changed to an academy. I changed to the Manchester Academy, which competed against different academies around the country. So we'd compete against, for example, the Blackburn Academy, Blackburn Rovers Academy.
Wow.
We'd compete against teams like Everton and Liverpool. So it got more serious from that point on. That was when I was about 10, 11. From that point on, I went to Manchester United Academy. Again, it got more serious. Again, we competed against Chelsea, Arsenal, teams, a lot of the big teams. So then it kept getting more and more serious. So I guess I just went through the ranks as I got older, really.
Nice. So you never, once you started playing football, you never really stopped, did you?
Never really stopped, I guess, no.
Nice. And I wanted to ask you, so how did your family react to this? Were they supportive? What about your friends? What about guys just generalizing about girls and being annoying about girls playing football? How was your experience?
I remember when I was younger, always my family have been supportive, always. My father and my father's side are Indian. They're an Indian family, and my mother's side is an English family. But both of the sides have been very supportive, regardless. When I was younger, I remember when I was first getting involved in football, the boys in my school, I remember them, they were a little, oh, you're a girl, you can't play football, you can't do this. Then when I made the move to the academies, to the Manchester Academy, to the Manchester United Academy, I think that's when they realised, they were only little boys as well, that's when they realised, oh, girls can play football, girls can do this, and maybe better than us also.
I would say, unless they were in the Manchester United Academy, but by now I think we would know their names, right?
I guess so.
So you were born in 1997, and right now this is kind of an impromptu question. In 2002, I was 10 years old, and I remember watching in theaters a movie that I thoroughly enjoyed and showed to people women's football for the first time, and it was Bandit Like Beckham. And it also talks about a girl with Indian descent. Have you ever watched this movie?
Of course, it's a classic. Often I'm quite compared to this girl as well, so there's a few stereotypes for you.
All right. And because I remember that was the first time in my life being raised in Italy where I kind of realized that women's football was a serious thing. So right now you play in San Marino, let's call it a different country. It is a different country, but you've played in Italy too. Do you think that in Italy and England there is a difference in the perception of women's football?
Great question again. I think that definitely women's football has grown over the years globally. I think generally it's grown. I think that in England, for example, the growth is more accelerated, it's bigger, there's more put into it, it's better known by the general public, not only people who like women's football, who are involved in women's football. And I think that also comes from the teams, for example, Manchester City, Arsenal, now Manchester United, who have recently established a women's team. And it's just creating more and more exposure to the women's game. These players in England now who play for those big clubs, they're massive. They're professional athletes, and that's what they do. That's what they're good at. You can't say anything else about them now. I think Italy is the same. I think especially with the big clubs like Juventus, Fiorentina, Roma, those clubs, the men's side as well, are trying to push them to get more exposure, to be more well-known throughout Italy. And I think they're doing a great job. Like in the Instagrams, they're posting about the women's team on Juventus page, Inter Milan page. They're posting about the women's team. And I think slowly, by step, it will become bigger. It will get more exposure. I think in Italy, it's a little less than it is in England, but I think that will come with time. With more exposure, with more awareness, it will come definitely.
One thing that, touching on this super controversial Super League topic, one thing that I did read, however, is that they're intending on creating a Super League with the same teams for the women's game. Now, besides all the moral and ethic things, do you think that this could be a good stage to make women's football more popular in the world?
Yeah, so I did hear about that as well. Because my initial worries about the Super League, well, what's going to happen to the women's side of it? And I think for the women's game, although I don't agree with the men's side of it, looking at the women's game, I think for the growth of the women's game, I think it could be a good thing because it will push the teams, it will push the societies to invest more into the women's side also, pushing the games up. The women's will play, for example, City against PSG, the big teams around Europe will play each other. They'll get more well-known. They'll probably have more views, to be honest, if it's on an international platform. We'll see. Maybe it's a good idea.
Right. Since you're a footballer, a professional footballer, and you just said that you don't agree with the men's part of the Super League, we've had a Twitch special last night. We're recording on a Tuesday right now, where we kind of let out our frustration upon hearing the news of the creation of a Super League. As a professional footballer, you've been in the game for so long. How do you feel about it? Why is it so wrong, in your opinion?
I think, to be honest, I think it's because nobody likes a change. I think that football is one of the biggest platforms in the world. It's one of the biggest businesses. Everybody knows football. Everybody knows it. Even if you don't like it, you know about it. And I think to change something as big as that, it's difficult for people to understand. For example, if I think about the Premier League being changed and, for example, my team, City, is not in the Premier League anymore competing, I don't think the fans would be happy with this. They want to see their teams. They go week in, week out to see their teams compete in the Premier League. Mm-hmm. And if half of the teams aren't there, then there's no point, really. I think the thing about the international, they're not allowed to play internationally as well. I think that'll put a lot of pressure on both the clubs. I think it'll put a lot of pressure on the international teams. It might do a lot of damage to the European Cup, the World Cup. Mm-hmm. Who knows?
Yeah, there is definitely all we can do is sit down and watch how things unfold right now. It felt like this big explosion yesterday. Right now, this atomic cloud is kind of settling, and I'm starting to read actually articles that I'm very thankful for, because they try to explain also from an economical point of view what this means, what is the reasoning behind it, and everything. I guess that the first reaction though is, this is not the football that I fell in love with, you know? And since you mentioned international football, have you ever flirted with like being around the national team squad of England?
I wish. No, it would be a dream to play internationally. When I was younger, we had it was kind of a pathway camp towards the England team. I attended a few of those, so it was like the step below the England team. Mm-hmm. I attended a few of those. I was about 15, 16. And that's about as far as I got personally. I really wish I would have pursued it more. I really wish I could have taken that extra step. But hopefully, like one day in the future, who knows? Who knows what will happen? But I guess to represent your country is something you can't explain.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Imagine that you are a footballer and you can play football. I'm terrible at it, but sometimes I close my eyes and I picture myself scoring a winner in a World Cup final. Definitely you have more chances than I do to make that dream come true. But so right now you are in the middle of your career. What are your goals besides, of course, the goal of surviving in Serie A with the San Marino this year? What are your career goals for the future?
Yeah, no, definitely at this moment is to survive this year. For me in the future, I just want to play. I went through my life, I'm 24 now, but I went through my life knowing deep down I wanted to play football. And now I just want to continue as long as I can. I want to reach the top if I can, reach my potential. See where I can go, if I can go higher, if I can get better, and just see where I can go, really. That's my goal, I guess, for the next 10 years.
Until now, what is the best memory that you have of your footballing career?
Oh, great question.
You knew this one was coming. This always comes during these type of interviews.
Yeah, great question. I think the best moment so far is when I joined UPC Tavagnacco last year, because it was the first time I was going to be completely professional, without studies, without working. I was completely professional at that club. Although still in Italy, it's not considered, the women's game is not considered a professional league. We are professionals. In my mind, we are professionals because this is our work. So for me to get that, to come here, to make the change and come here and be the professional at a Serie A team, that was probably the highlight.
Yeah, and I mean, you grew up probably watching the Premier League in England, the home of football, but I would say the number 2 after England in Europe. We've got Italy. So probably coming to Italy, was there a decision behind the choice of Italy, or was it kind of random? It just happened that they contacted you, you came here, and all of a sudden you found yourself living in Udine?
Yeah, it was completely random. I'm not going to lie to you. It was completely random. I was set for another path, and then last minute, it just changed, and yeah, I found myself in Udine in Italy.
Nice. And how was it living at home, going to live in a country where you don't speak the language? And especially, I'm very curious. So I studied languages throughout my studying career, and I'm always very curious. How does a manager speak to their players when there are maybe 5 or 6 different languages involved? So do they enroll you to Italian classes right away? Do you kind of study it at home? Does the coach do an extra step to just try and speak English maybe?
Yeah, so when I was first initially coming to Italy, I didn't really understand the fact that I would have to learn Italian. Because I thought I've worked in different countries, but always they've spoke English in those countries. I worked in Spain once and they spoke Spanish, but I tried a little bit. They spoke a little bit of English. But coming to Italy, I think I was kind of just thrown in the deep end completely. I honestly, I didn't know one word of Italian before I came here. And I can say, truthfully, I was a bit ignorant with Italian. So for me, it was difficult, the language barrier in the beginning. A few of the players spoke English, so they were very good. They helped us out a little bit. There was 5 other foreigners when I was played for Tavagnaco. The coach, however, didn't speak English. He spoke maybe 1 or 2 words. And I guess that year it was a lot of sign language, a lot of shouting and kind of understanding the body language, and it was a bit of a difficult time, but we got through it.
So as a footballer and specifically midfielder, what are the Italian words that you must know? So if any girl is listening and she's coming to play in Italy, and what are the words that you need to know on the pitch to make sure you communicate properly with your teammates?
There's a lot. There's a lot. The thing is, when I'm on the pitch, I can't speak Italian. When I'm on the pitch, I can't. My head doesn't go that fast. I can't concentrate on football and Italian at the same time. That's one of the faults with me.
You just speak English?
I speak English, but really fast as well. It comes out really fast. So I'm speaking and nobody else can understand what I'm saying. But luckily, I understand what the other girls are saying. So we get along on the pitch. The little words like uomo, meaning man on, like sola, turn with the ball, things like that. Definitely like the spatial awareness. And no, we get along with it.
Nice. So this one was very funny because I always played with my friends as a goalkeeper. And the few times that I played in the US with my friends, or I played with an international crowd, I didn't know these things like man on, which in Italian you translate with simply man. Like man, or sola, which means, how did you say it in English?
In English, we say turn or time.
Okay, time, turn. There's nobody putting pressure on you. And I would scream, alone, alone, alone. And the people wouldn't understand what that meant. So yeah, it's even the simple like words that we usually use in football, they change completely from one language to the next. But so you said about signing signing when you went to Friuli, that was your best memory. What about your in-field best memory of a game, of a specific moment, except the scoring in the opposition, in your own goal the first time you touched the ball?
No, so we've had a lot. I would say I'm going to take one from my childhood first. One from my childhood, I played for I think it was Blackburn Rovers at the time, a team called Blackburn Rovers in England. I played for them and it was their academy. We went to the Arsenal tournament, which was hosted by Arsenal. There were teams like Arsenal, Aston Villa, Norwegian teams involved. And I remember taking the ball from the halfway line. At this point, I did play centre-back. I remember taking the ball on the halfway line, and I drove through the middle of the pitch and just took a shot. I just thought, why not? Just took a shot from about 35 yards out, and it just dipped under the bar and went in. Perfect it was. We had a few people watching us, but I guess that's one of the things I remember, one of the goals. I remember.
Nice. So you said you're a midfielder. You also said offensive midfielder?
Yeah, now, yes.
But you studied, we could say in quotation marks, as a center back. So what is the final product? What kind of footballer are you?
Now I love playing in midfield. I love playing the attacking midfielder. I don't know why. I guess it was a choice I made when I moved to Italy, because during my final year in England, I did become more of a holding midfielder, kind of more of an offensive player. Before that, from starting my career in my first team up until kind of my final year in England, I was a centre back. I did play centre back. I have played right full back as well, and holding midfielder as well. Now I play attacking midfielder. So I guess pretty much.
Almost every position. Have you ever played goalkeeper?
Never. This is the one. Never. I couldn't.
Never even tried?
Never tried. No.
So if your goalkeeper was to get a red card, you would definitely not be the one to replace her.
I don't think it would be me, no.
All right. But another question about playing styles. Did you notice any difference between the playing style in England and the playing style in Italy? Because we interviewed a former footballer who played both in the Championship and in Serie B, and he said that the differences were huge. There was a completely different approach to the game.
Yeah, no, it is different. And I guess also, just to say, first of all, every team is different as well. So, for example, with my experience in the third league of England, in my final 4 years in England, we had a coach and she was phenomenal coach. And with her, we learned how to play properly, whereas the third league of England is a little different than the second and the first league. It's a little more kick and run and back and forth. But with her, we learned to play on the floor. We learned to play through the middle, through the midfield, back out wide. We learned to play possession football, basically. And then coming to Italy, coming to a team like Tavagnacco, who knew that we were going to be a team that was trying to save ourselves in the league, we played a little more long balls, a little less possession, more direct football, which is different from the English style now. It's quicker here, it's more direct. And also in San Marino, this is our style as well, to go direct, to go into the depth, to go to the attackers.
What's the relationship that you have with men's football? So you said that you're a Manchester City fan. When you were young, did you grow up watching the men's team, the women's team, both?
I'm a City fan, and definitely when I grew up, it was definitely the men's team, City team. We used to always go. My dad was the City supporter, and the other half of my family, my granddad's side, was the United supporters.
Oh no, a massive family.
I know. I can say sometimes, maybe once or twice, I did go to watch United.
Hopefully they're not listening right now.
Hopefully not. No, but I would always go to watch City, and yeah, definitely grew up. Darius Vassell, people like that,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And right now, do you watch the men's game or not so much?
Yeah, I try. It's difficult watching the Premier League from Italy, especially with the Brexit rules and everything now and the TV rights. But no, I try. When I can, I try and watch them.
Mm-hmm. So because right now I haven't really prepared this question, but there is also this thing about men's football and women's football. But at the end of the day, the sport is the same, isn't it? So I feel like a great job is being done about making the women's game more popular, more inclusive, to also tell little girls in some parts of Italy, you literally have to tell them it's okay if you want to play football. There's nothing weird with you. That's what you want to do, and you can do it. But at the end of the day, we kind of forget that the sport is the same. I've been myself in pickup games with both guys and girls, and at the end of the day, when you're playing the sport, you don't even notice the difference. What is your take, I guess my question is not very clear, but how do you feel about this constant like comparison between the men's game and the women's game? And this should be done and that should be done. How do you feel about it as a professional footballer who is involved in the business?
For me, there isn't a comparison, really. There's no comparison because for me, football is football. I watch the men's football. I play women's football. Sometimes I watch the women's football. Like, for me, football is football. And also, there isn't the comparison, like I said. Like, as playing football and being a footballer is my life. And I can understand the side of trying to compare one against the other, but men are physically stronger, men are physically faster, but at the end of the day, the game is the same. It's the same game. Yeah, for me, there's not much to say about it because women's football is just as important as men's football in the business side of it also, as well as the entertainment side, as well as the sports side. For me, the sports side is first, obviously, because I play. But for me, it's the same.
What further steps? So we were talking off mic about the fact that there's been, you also said it during the interview, more and more teams are sharing content about their women's team. They're raising more awareness about it. What do you think are a few crucial steps that still need to be taken from any point of view, really, even salary-wise and sponsorship and all this?
Yeah, it's difficult to say, really. I think that the women's game is increasing in terms of the sponsorship. For example, the Premier League now, the Women's Super League now is sponsored by Barclays, the same as the Premier League. And I think a step like that is massive. It's huge and it's necessary. To try and make them equal. And I think in terms of salary and that, we are professional players. So it's not a hobby for us. It's not kind of we love to play football. But now that we live here and we compete professionally, it's not a hobby. It's our lives. Do you know what I mean? It's a job. So to make a living out of it is kind of what we need, especially with the kind of salary the men's is getting. It's a lot, but I'm not saying that we should.
Well, that depends. That depends on the audience that there is for that specific league as well. It depends on a lot of different factors.
Exactly.
But as you said, the fact that some big banks or big sponsors are coming in willing to put the money, it means that they've understood that there is a need for that market as well. And it's kind of funny that it's arising only now, really, between 2020, 2021. It feels kind of late, to say the least, like a lot of things in this regard. How do you feel as a female footballer? Are you proud of it? Because I fucking would be, I'll be honest. I would be very proud of being a female footballer.
Yeah, of course. I mean, like I said, it was what I wanted to do since I was 8 years old. I think it's pretty much anyone's dream. When you're young and you say in school, they say to you, "Oh, what do you want to be when you grow up?" Half of the kids say a footballer. And now it's happened. Whether that's for men, whether that's for women, boys or girls, it's a footballer. So
right, yeah, the excitement at the end is the same. And is there any figure in women's football that you really look up to? One figure maybe for their footballing skills or for what they've done for the game in general? Is there one name or a few names that you could make? In
women's football, sorry.
Yeah, in women's football, yeah. A person like a footballer that you really look up to.
I guess a few of the older girls of the older generation in England, like, for example, Kelly Smith, I think she must have been the kind of pioneer for women's football in England when I was growing up. She was kind of the one. You've got some of the other ones that, like Rachel Yankee. You've got Alex Scott commentating on on the TV. And then in Italy, you've got the Juventus girls, Sarah Gamma speaking up for women's football. It's great, really, the amount of girls that are speaking, they're using their platform, using their voice to try and create more of an environment, more of an awareness about women's football. It's great, yeah.
Yeah, I saw pictures of the derby between Inter and AC Milan, and there was this picture that you would never see at the men's game of the girls from both teams hugging each other at the end of the game, kind of shaking hands. Is there more sportsmanship, you feel like, at the end of the game between girls rather than with guys? Like, is there this feeling of we might be opponents in the pitch, but after the 90 minutes, we're kind of fighting for the same cause and we kind of stick together?
I guess generally, yes, we are fighting for the same cause. Like I said, we play football and that's it, because we all love to play football. I think in the women's game, no one is here because they don't love to play football. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that
yeah.
I think that on the pitch, for sure, we're rivals. For sure, there's the competition, without a doubt. But I guess off the pitch, we all want all of us to do well. It's a good community because we know what we're building for the future.
And going back to these figures that you look up to in the worlds of women's football, have you had the chance to meet any of them, to just exchange a few words with them?
Yes, a few, but I will tell you about it relates to the time when I scored that goal against Arsenal, I think it was. Rachel Yankee was stood behind the goal because she was kind of the guest there for the tournament, and I was only like 13 or 14, and I scored this goal, and she said it to one of the people afterwards, "Oh, did you see that goal?" And me as 13, I was like, "Oh, my goal."
Wow, that must be quite something. That must
Probably
be quite
she
something.
can't remember this, but for me, I definitely do.
I'm sure she's still talking about it. One time at this tournament, I saw this little girl running up from central defense and just unleashing a rocket under the crossbar. Oh my God.
I would hope so.
Maybe she does remember it. Maybe she's a regular listener of the podcast. We don't know. We can't know this. And what about, so we also talked about your relationship with the men's game. You're a Man City fan. Who is the male footballer that is kind of your idol? Did you have a poster in your room of anybody when you grew up?
When I grew up, definitely it was Ronaldinho, for sure. I don't know why, but I just loved him.
Everybody did.
I know why, yeah. Exactly. I loved him. Now I would say it's Kevin De Bruyne, definitely. Not only because he plays for City, but the way he plays is phenomenal.
Wow.
Phenomenal. I would like to portray myself in that kind of way one day.
Well, it sounds like you're very versatile, just like good old Kevin. Like, you can play different positions in the pitch. I remember, KDB, you know it better than me as a City fan. He's been playing in every kind of position in the pitch, from holding midfielder, offensive midfielder, winger, forward sometimes, because Guardiola can be very creative too. What are if you could steal one thing from Kevin, what would you steal from his skill set?
I think it's his vision and his passing range. Perfection, absolute perfection. Just to see a player at the right moment, you're talking 1 second, half a second, and the pass has got right to his feet.
And if KDB could steal one thing from your skill set, what would it be?
Maybe my ability speaking Italian in this moment.
But jokes aside, what do you think is your, your go-to, what is your number one skill in football? Physicality, vision?
I guess since I was younger, everybody has always said, "Oh, you're so composed on the ball." And I think coming here in Italy, people think I'm too calm or I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm not as, basically I'm too calm. But I think for me, that's composure. It shows like I'm composed on the ball. I can pick out a pass. I can make a decision on the ball, kind of. I think still for me, it's one of the best things I have to kind of when the tempo of the play needs to slow down a little bit, or when it needs to relax and kind of start again, I can kind of do that, and without creating pressure for myself on the other teammates, things like that.
Going back to the question about the differences between football in Italy and in the UK, do you think there is more attention? This is something that I blab about a lot in our podcast. Do you think that in Italy / San Marino, there is more attention is paid to the defensive phase of the game?
In Italy, for sure, definitely. Yeah. Definitely. And I think being in the teams like Tavignaco, like San Marino, definitely we've had to be more defensive, because teams like Juventus, teams like Milan, they will rip through you.
So talking about your composure, Millie, where do you think you got that from? Is it something you were born with, or was it something that you were able to perfect throughout your career as a footballer?
I think I did have it when I was younger. So in the younger teams, growing up in the academies, when I played centre-back, I was always very composed. That's what the people always said. And then also throughout my career, when I was in university, I also played futsal. And we had a coach who was in the England setups, the England FA setups. He taught us how to play futsal properly, the little five-a-side, the quick tactics, things like that. And I guess that helped a lot. When I was in Dubai, as like a personal trainer, kind of. And when I was in Dubai, I played for a five-a-side team, five-a-side and seven-a-side. Sometimes it was mixed with the boys as well. So it was a lot faster paced. It was quicker, stronger. The ball moved quicker. And it was a lot of running as well. So I guess mentally you had to be switched on, but you also had to be calm to deal with it all. And I would say personally, playing futsal, playing five-a-side is absolutely what young kids nowadays need if they want to go into football. I think futsal is a great feeder of football for me personally, because all the football nowadays is the possession football. You see all the Brazilians doing it, and you can tell that when they were younger, they used to play five-a-side, they used to play futsal, all the Spanish teams. I think it's absolutely necessary to add this into the football programs, the football training. I think it's an amazing thing to have in your skill set, being able to play the five-a-side indoor, five-a-side outdoor, and then transition that into 11-a-side.
Yeah, I think from my very little experience and very bad experience as a football player, when I played five-a-side with my friends, I've always enjoyed goalkeeping. So I was a goalkeeper for that reason. Mm-hmm. But whenever I played, when my friends were tired, Tommaso, we don't care, get out of goal, you're going out. The thing that I always thought was so stressful is that the space is so small. If you think about it 1 second too many, the guy is going to come to you, he's going to get the ball from you, and then it's a goal. So it's really that finding the perfect distances, maximizing your game, making quick decisions. I agree with you, especially when you think about the big names that we're thinking about right now. They're all people that can dictate the play really well. And I think in five-a-side football, you learn that quite well.
And definitely, they're all, just to add that all of the big players have played futsal in their life. They've all had that kind of training, a background of futsal. So, yeah, that's another reason. I mean, it speaks for itself.
The most amazing thing in this regard that I've ever seen in my life, when I went visiting my grandpa in Brazil in 2004, I was jogging with my uncle on the beach. Then, of course, I was just a little kid. I got tired and I started walking back to my mom's and my sister's. Mm-hmm. And a ball eventually rolls towards me. And these kids just look at me and he's like, come play with us, right? I'm like, okay, why not? I toss them the ball with my hand. And they see a 5-year-old barefoot on incandescent sand, just juggle the ball, turn around, perfect through pass to his friend on the beach.
No
and
way.
Then they scored in goals that were literally a flip-flop long. Uh-huh. And I kind of stood there. Then he turned around, looked at me and said, come play. I was like, guys, nope. I'm not going to ruin your fun. But again, yeah, like perfecting your technique in small spaces in a different turf too, then you can adapt definitely, I think, to more.
Yeah, completely agree. Amazing, yeah.
I see, Millie, that this weekend there is kind of a big game coming up. I'm going to tell all of our followers to try and watch it. What is the best way to watch women's football? What channels do you usually use?
The Italian Serie A is all on Team Vision.
Okay, perfect.
All of it's on Team Vision.
Perfect. Team Vision. We've got San Marino taking on Napoli on Saturday at 12:30. It's a very big game. Millie will be cheering for you. Are fans allowed back at the stadium right now in San Marino?
In this moment, no. But hopefully in a few weeks, by the end of the season, they'll be allowed. We hope so.
Okay, if fans are allowed back before the end of the season and all these red-yellow region madness ends, can Roy and I come watch a San Marino game?
Of course.
All right, we feel like it would be an interesting special for our episode, and also we're really dying to travel a little bit, get the car, and have a nice ride across Italy.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything more you would like to add, Millie, to this conversation? I told you I would keep going forever and ask you plenty of other things.
Yeah, no, I think it's been really good. I just wanted to really stress the point about women's football. Just the fact how much it's growing and how much more it can grow. And for, like you said earlier, for any little girl listening to this, not only the little girls, the little boys as well, who just love to play. Like, at the end of the day, for me, it's just football. Everybody loves it, no matter who you are. If you love it, you love it. If you want to play, you can play. And now, more than ever, women's football is becoming more professional. We're having this chance to make it our career. And for me, it's a dream, really. It's my dream to have my career as the one thing I love doing. So, yeah.
What is and now let's say goodbye to our listeners with, I don't know, I hear a lot of football players that they say, man, the thing I miss the most is the feeling of the turf under my soccer shoes. What is under my soccer boots? What is it for you? What is the most football thing there is about football?
That is a very good one. I remember our last game we played at the San Marino Stadium, the International Men's Stadium.
Wow.
And it was perfection. One of the best pitches I've ever played on. It was absolute perfection. When I walked on it, I nearly lied across it.
Wow.
It was perfection.
I remember when I used the same pair of goalkeeper gloves for a very long time. And then I recently moved the houses and I found the gloves from when I was a kid. And I looked at them and they said, if I put them close to my face, I know exactly what I'm going to smell. And then I put them close to my face and so many memories came out all of a sudden in that pair of sweaty gloves that probably bent so many times on very weak shots. But Millie, once again, thank you so much for being on today. We wish you great luck with San Marino. Hopefully you guys can survive. Big game against Napoli. Keep your composure, very important. And remember of all the defensive techniques that you've learned here in Italy. Yeah. Millie, hopefully you will be, whenever you want, you can come back on the pod, bring somebody else, maybe at the end of the season.
Yep, of course. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Do you want to say thank you also in Italian?
Grazie.
Very good. You see? Thank you, Millie. You've been an awesome guest. Thank you very much. And now let me meet Rory again in our next section. That was quite the interview, Rory. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think it was good to listen to an interview that I wasn't part of, right? I was a listener, which was nice. I really enjoyed the own goal story. I thought it was really great. It was quite cute, right? It was as a little kid, just a bit confused. It was really cool. She had I was really impressed. Great interview, Tommy. Good work.
Thank you, buddy. And thank you, Millie, once again. We hope that a few of your friends, of your family members are listening now, and they are hooked on the Anglo-Italian pod, and they can't
Of course they are, Tommy. Of course they are.
Anymore. And especially good luck to San Marino in the relegation battle. Once again, Saturday at 12:30 p.m. San Marino take on Napoli in quite an intense drop zone battle.
We will keep the listeners informed. I think we'll have to keep the listeners informed on how it goes.
Millie, make sure you shoot towards the opposition's goal. Once again, just make sure, double check. But now it's time for our infamous 1 minute to kick off quiz. But before introducing it, we've got to say it, Rory. I will let you say it. Come on.
So nervous. I'm so nervous about this.
No. We have to go back to the last week's quiz.
Oh, right. I need to make a formal apology, right? My maths has never been a strong point, and I didn't quite figure out that, of course, Ivan Cordoba had not made more appearances since 2000 than Javier Zanetti, which was Tommaso's answer. So the record points total in a minute now stands at a mind-bending 3. But well done, Tommy. I've eaten my humble pie. Please make sure that you don't mess up any of my answers. Otherwise, I will not let you hear the end of it.
So I'm standing at 5. Rory is sitting at 2 points with 1 game in hand, which is going to be played right now. Rory, your expertise topic, please.
I've got so much to lose. This is, of course, the invincible season 03-04 for Arsenal. I've watched this season more times than you can imagine, especially recently. Oh, God, right, let's go. I think there's a big potential for me making quite a tit of myself here, but let's do it.
And the sound theme. Here we are. Mr. Rory Crisquall from Crewe, Alexandra. No, from Crewe, sorry, that's just a name.
Just Crewe.
Crewe, near Manchester, currently living in Milan, ready to start the 1 minute to kick off quiz. The timer is about to unleash. Mr. Crisquall, are you ready?
Let's do it.
And we're about to start in 3, 2, 1, go. In that season, there was one player from Cameroon. What was his name?
Laurent.
Correct. Number 2, who was the second highest scoring player after Henry?
Jose Reyes?
Wrong. Number 3, who was your second string keeper?
It was Stuart Taylor.
Correct. Who had the most league appearances that season for Arsenal?
Vieira. No, Lehmann.
Wrong. You already said it wrong. Number 5, which Russian team featured in your UEFA Champions League group?
Spartak Moscow.
Wrong. Number 6, who scored the winner at Anfield against Liverpool?
Henry.
Wrong. Number 7, who was Arsenal's chairman that season?
David Dean.
Wrong.
No.
You got 2 out of 7. The one player from Cameroon was, of course, Laurent. What is your memory about this player, Rory?
Really great really great right back. Really great play. Beautiful penalties, and was a semi-professional boxer. I always remember that about him. Yeah. Wow. Hard guy. Hard man.
Who was the second highest scoring player after Henry?
It's going to be Perez, isn't it?
It was Perez. Yeah, the two of them. Sake. So Perez at 14, Henry at 30, and the third highest scoring player had 4. if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to check right. I closed the tab, but it was you can find the page on Wikipedia for that season, and it was Henry 30 goals, Pires 14, and all the others like 4, 3, 1, whatever. Who was your second string keeper? You guessed right.
Stuart
it was
Taylor.
Stuart Taylor. How did you remember that name?
I just remember Stuart Taylor. I don't know why.
Number 4, who had the most league appearances that season? Of
course, it was fucking Lehmann. It's such a stupid thing to say Vieira.
It was Lehmann, but man, there is this thing. Goalkeepers are like a category on their own.
I feel like I always get it right on my second guess because it was Lokomotiv Moscow we had in the group.
It was Lokomotiv Moscow. And what other teams did you have in your group?
I can't remember. I remember the Lokomotiv game because they were playing in like minus 15 heat or some shit. I can't remember. Inter. Fuck, it was a 5-1 season. It was. Yeah.
It was Inter, Arsenal, Lokomotiv Moscow, and Dynamo Kiev. Who scored the winner at Anfield versus Liverpool?
I think it was Pires again, right?
It was Pires again. It was
if there was no timer, I'd be killing this. Go on.
Dude, the timer fucks up the entirety of the game. Who was Arsenal's chairman that season?
Now, David Dean left. I can't remember who it was.
Peter Hill-Wood.
That family owned Arsenal for since it started. Yeah.
And off mic, I asked Rory whether he wanted the Champions League related question or not. He said yes, but let's see if you guess my backup answer that I had ready for you. Who did you purchase Lemon from in summer 2003?
Borussia Dortmund for like 2.5 million. There's nothing.
Yeah. I did not recall Lehmann playing for Borussia Dortmund.
One of my favorite Lehmann stories at Dortmund. He got sent off for kicking his own player.
Wow!
He scored an own goal and he physically attacked his own defender. Yeah. Guy was a mentalist, but I absolutely love him.
Whom we discovered a week ago, Lehmann was born as a 40-year-old, probably.
Yeah. He was 30 in 1990 or something. It's insane.
It's very strange. Right now, we don't know how old he is, but Rory, that's 2 points for you.
I'm so annoyed at myself because each time I got it wrong and then said the right answer. So bloody annoying.
Right. So that means that after 2 games each of the 1 minute to kick off, I'm leading by 1 point. And this is unprecedented because we are finally keeping track of our scores.
Keeping track of the quizzes. Yeah.
And
guys, who told you this thing is all a progress. It's all,
This is completely unrelated, but I also wanted to give a shout out to my cat, Mingus, because at the beginning of the season, it was impossible to record an episode with her around. Right now, it feels like she's learned that when I'm sitting down here, she just needs to sit next to me and not bother, not jump on the keyboard, not bite the mic cables and all that.
Good work, Mingus, because last time I was at yours when we were watching the football, she just closed the laptop while we were watching the football, which was whilst looking straight at us, which felt so malicious. It was absolutely brilliant. It was one of the funniest things.
That was one of the cattest cat moments ever. There is this computer halfway open and the cat just looks at us and we're like, no. She puts the paw on it and done. The game is done. Rory, anything to tell our listeners because before I send them off with our weekly quote?
Nothing more than to follow us on Twitter at Italian Anglo Pod. And of course, join us on Mondays, guys. Join us, watch us live, get involved in the comments. We would love to see you all.
It was beautiful to see more listeners than usual on Monday night. We are always live on Twitch and also YouTube, which I often forget to say, on Monday nights at 9 p.m. Central European Time. And I'm going to send you off with the quote suggested by Rory by the great Bill Shankly. At a football club, there's a holy trinity: the players, the manager, and the supporters. Directors do not come into it. They are only there to sign the checks. And that's all for today. Talk to you on Monday.